Today I'm going to be doing a oil change on a 2025 Lincoln Nautilus hybrid with the 2-liter hybrid motor. I could not find anything else on YouTube on the 2024 or 2025 new Chinese model, so here we are today. I'm going to be doing one on my own Lincoln Nautilus. So now that we have it inside our overcrowded garage, we get down underneath it and there's a belly pan underneath this vehicle that is, unless you have a hoist, is a very big pain in the butt to get at it because it is very large. Since I don't have a camera stand in order to keep videoing while I'm doing it, I have now taken the belly pan off. As you see, it is a fairly good sized belly pan. There are 13 7mm screws holding the thing on, and it goes back a couple feet underneath. So again, if you don't have the vehicle up in the air, it's kind of hard to get back at those last 4, or actually 5 at the very back. So now on to the oil change. So now that I've got that out, I will show just how quick and easy it should be, because under here, there's your oil filter, there's your pan. So once you have that belly pan off, it's actually very easy to get at. The drain plug is a 15mm, and it has a silicone type of O-ring. Regardless of whether you want to reuse it or not, I always recommend put on a new one anyways. Now to go back underneath the vehicle, a little bit of looking. I got the oil filter off. The original one was on far more than hand tight, so I did have to use a cap style wrench to get at it. And as you can see by the filter, there was a lot of runoff, so that plug area where the oil filter resides must contain a good amount of residual, because it will definitely pour out over your hand. While the rest of the oil is draining from the pan, you can see what type of oil and filter that I am using in my repair here. So I am using the AMSOIL Signature Series Synthetic Motor Oil 5W30. This is the AMSOIL's top of the line, absolute pinnacle of oil that they produce. I'm also using an actual Ford Motorcraft original equipment filter, the FL2127. It's kind of hard to find so far. I had to actually special order these to get them. But the reason why I want to use a Motorcraft oil filter on this, and nothing against the aftermarket, but I use the OEM filters only because they have the exact spring pressure for bypass relief, whereas some of the aftermarket companies will generally do more of a range, so that same filter will fit on more than one engine. This one is designed for this engine, so personally, that's what I'm putting on it. I'm not going to go with an aftermarket filter. Now with the oil filter, you may do as you please, but I also recommend that you fill the oil filter with oil prior to installation, simply because it has that much less lag time before the oil gets flowing into the filter. Now back to under the hood, while I'm waiting for all the oil to drip into the pan. Your fill location is right here, just behind your dipstick. It is a small cap, about a 1/4 turn, and that's where you can get a largemouth funnel so that you can pour your oil in. Just make sure your funnel is clean before you're putting your oil in. You got all the old oil out along with the filter. As you can see, the residual oil that pours down the side of that filter, like I said, when you're taking this particular one off, it apparently has a pocket that's going to have a bunch of oil on it, so you will have some residual coming off the sides of that. Now that I got the old new drain plug back in, along with the new gasket, we're getting ready to fill our engine. 6.1 quarts is what the owner's manual is specifying for that. Now I've put 6 quarts in, not the 6.1 so far, so I'm going to start with the 6.0 and go from there. I always keep a spare bottle from an old previous oil change around because it's a lot easier to pour into one of those and try to hold a 1-gallon bottle over that little tiny hole in the engine and not create a mess. So I always keep a spare 1-quart bottle around from a previous oil change, and that way it makes it a lot cleaner and easier when you're trying to measure out, especially if you're using the gallon jugs to get to that 6-quart point. Check the level before I start it first. And it looks like we are good. Let me wipe that off first. And then recheck it. Yep. So it's just below the top hatch on that, and since I filled the oil filter itself before installing that, it should not drop anymore. It's just below the top of the cross hatches on that. So let me start it and recheck it. Okay, we're getting in the vehicle to start. You may have to blip the throttle until the ready turns off, because that's when the gas engine starts. Next, you'll be resetting your oil life monitor. Go to your menu, click on your settings once you find them in that doggone list. There's your settings. And then scroll down in the vehicle. Keep scrolling down. All the way to the bottom is the oil life. Once you get to the oil life, press and hold for 2 seconds, and that will reset your oil life monitor back to 100% once you are complete. Back under the hood, I'm going to wait about 2 or 3 minutes, so I'll be pausing again and then restarting again before I check the oil level, just in case anything needs to drain down. So during that time, you can crawl underneath and make sure that you don't have any oil leaks underneath, making sure that your drain plug doesn't have any leaks. No leaks around the oil filter. All dry and good. So at this point, we can start reinstalling that belly pan with its 13 7mm screws. One thing to note about that belly pan, there is a little hook that goes onto that rear cross member. So placing that first, and then you can start with your front bolts to get the support up there. There's also little fingers up there as well on the front, so you can actually hang it before having to start any of the 13 bolts. Trying to do this video would be so much easier with somebody holding the camera or having a stand, but I don't have either of those, so I make do. One other item is that there's little sleeves that tuck underneath the side of your bumper covers, right under here on each side as well, because your bolt has to go underneath there. So back to these 13 7mm bolts. I'll try to do whatever I can on the camera to show you where they're located. You have 4 right up front, across the front. You have 2 more that are tucked into this little pockets, left and right, that is right by the stone deflectors. Then you have 2 more about a foot back. So if you're going back on the side, 1 there on the left side, and then there's the other on the right side, about a foot back from that deflector. Then you have 2 inside these little pockets. Where's that little pocket? I can't get my camera on that pocket. There it is. No, wait a minute. There's the pocket. One right there, and then across, there's the other one. Okay, so now that I've got my floor jack and probably not the recommended location, I can actually get under here far enough to find those 3 bolts. There's one. There's the second. And then there's the third in a little pocket at the very back center. Final note about the 13 7mm bolts holding that engine shield. That engine shield is a very, 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 very thin fiber material. Think of it as being made in China. Oh, wait, it is made in China. So anyways, do not over torque those things because those things tend to rip very easily. So if you're using a power tool or anything like that, use it on its lowest setting for torque, just like I did. So this is just a very small Walmart handheld power driver. So doesn't apply very much torque to it because those things will rip right through. And now for the final oil level check. Wipe the dipstick, put it back in. Oh, wrong side, doesn't have the cross hatches. And we are right at the full level. All done. Not too bad. The biggest pain in the butt is that underbelly pan. Again, that thing is a fiber, very thin fiber. Don't over torque it. Don't try to twist it. Don't try to force it out. You will probably rip the damn thing. So, pardon my French for it, but it is a very inexpensively made component that I'm sure Ford will probably charge you a couple $100s for. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen Ford vehicles with their fiber underbody items hanging down and dragging on the ground because some oil jockey place torqued them till they squeaked. And that's what rips those things.